Alright guys, welcome to part 2 of the Tomb of Osiris, from tomb to womb. I Oasea, the Eye of Oasea. The Tomb of Osiris, and the Halls of Amenti. There's something I missed in this first enclosure, and that's that when the body's in this hole, these dots, what they call cup and ring marks, these are the cup marks, these dots come out of it and into the Ouroboros. The serpent round the outside is spotted. Here at Karahan we see the dots coming out, which are the Legion. Just like at Cattle Hoyuk, we see them coming in and working up to the crown till his head's full of them. So where we left off was the meaning of Amenti, the halls of Amenti being the pillar shrine, the sperm head, the pillar shrine is the phallic shrine, and we followed this Wanglong dragon king, Bigus. We followed him from the pillar 43, the excited, decapitated man riding what they claim is a vulture. We will get back to this in a minute. We followed him to the Barlickligol man, the master of animals, at Say Birch, not too far from Karahan. The Chinese Wanglongs. Of course, Shiva can be found with the large erect phallus. At the site that I've been looking at, Candy Sucker, we find this guy, headless, holding his phallus, just like the Say Birch master of animals, like the Barlickligol man. Now he has got his head missing. Is it broke? I don't know. But this guy clearly has in his hand an axe. This they call Min. Min is clearly some version of Osiris with his beard and his ex. But he's excited and he has this funny looking crown. I just point out, I'm trying not to be malicious, but it's important that you guys understand. This is Anthony Collins' representation of Pillar 43. And the most important part here, look, the beheaded, excited man is just this little squiggle. You can see that, guys? This is what this represents on one of the central pillars, the erect phallus. It's what the Yoni and Linga represent, this same symbol. And they pour blood and paint on it to represent the menstrual blood, and they pour milk on it to represent the semen, cum, knum, nut, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, where do you think this vulgarity comes from? Of course, we know the obelisk is the erect phallus of Osiris, and this can usually be found these days relocated outside a domed building, which is the Yoni, the phallus and the Yoni in architecture. We find this not only at the Vatican but at Washington. We find this everywhere, even at Chichen Itza. A cross from the phallic pillared temple, the halls of Amenti representation right across from the phallic shrine at Chichen Itza, we find the domed building, which they call the observatory, but at this point, well, maybe they did look at stars from here. But this is a dome building across from a phallic shrine. The Assyrian, guys. We've got to imagine this timeline we're talking about from the paleo eviction and garden eviction right the way to this culture growing, intermingling with angels, the Nephilim and all that stuff and becoming megalithic builders. And then the flood. The Assyrian, guys, is another antediluvian version of Karahan Tepe. The burial, the chamber, the phallic, pillared, buried, halls of Amenti, symbolic. And then once you've entered this passage down here and made this journey and come through the Assyrian, you enter into a chamber, which I believe, just like at Karahan Tepe, they did all the same stuff. The temple prostitute to make a man. And once we go through this pillared halls of Amenti, at Wentworth House, through this door here opens up into this big room with the dome representation. And it's on the checkered floor too, guys. It's all the same stuff. Halls of Amenti and the large enclosure now, okay? So this Min character, we see him here. Sometimes I call him Arton. We see this crown. This is the Arton crown. And he has the orb. He's excited. And he has his beard. But this beard is a serpent. Find a representation of this eerily, funnily enough, with the eye and the half. So half of this is in the pineal, and we find this ejaculation and this worm that does not die intersecting, just like we see at Karahan Tepe. Here we see Osiris dead, the phallus. We see the eye and the container being poured out of the squatting man with the beard. We see the up chevron. This Artef crown, I believe, with this man, this ex-man, being erect, ejaculating, and this spirit in the eye, which is half coming in. This represents the beheading. This helmet, hat, crown is the two pillars, the peaks, which we talked about earlier in part 1. He is the excited beheaded man from pillar 43. Min. We can see in this seal that this formation is to do with beheading. I've shown you this at Knossos and the axes. Here down at the bottom here we can see Thoth in his baboon form with knives ready to lay the person down the head and strike it off. This is all the same stuff, guys. Min was the master of animals. Osiris, the excited man, the headless man from pillar 43. And over here we see King Tut, represented as the Horus, in the squatting position, placed on the twin-headed lion throne, as we see here in the Book of the Dead. But if there's 3 legs and this is a guillotine, and this is why these arms are hanging down, because his head's on the block, and his arms are hanging over, and he's just about to get the chop. And that's what this autumn crown represents. And Min is just another stage, the first stage, really. We find this exact get-up in the Aztec gold cache. We find the same helmet, amongst other things, the V, the big V, where the guy's about to place his head between the horns. Here's the horns from Knossos that I just mentioned, and the altar that I've shown you before, guys, with the giant axes. And again, we see the spirals, the blood running down, and all the little genies coming out. In Dendera, we find this symbol with the orb, and inside it is Harpocrates, who is the Horus, another name. We see the flail is the up chevron, and we notice that he is the Horus because of the Horus lock. He's doing the shush, so this is Harpocrates. So Harpocrates is Horus. Once an entity has been buried in the hole, traversed the underworld, the halls of Amenti, he ascends to the heavens, to the stars. This is the meaning of this image, Geb and Nut. Nut is another word for semen. So this man with the feather of Mart, he dies and he rises and is reborn in a new host. Here we can see Sokar in the halls of Amenti, in the underworld. Sokar becoming from Knum, the serpent, the snake, the worm that does not die with the beard, from the Yangtze Museum and Karahan Tepe. We see Sokar forming into the Birdman, getting his wings. He is flanked by two sphinxes like the master of animals. He is about to ascend from the underworld to the heavens. And when Sokar ascends to the heavens, he becomes Ra in his solar boat. And here is Ra in the squatting position in his solar boat with this sun disk. This is the solar disk because he's coming to the star gate through the door to the stars from the underworld. Most representations of Ra are seen with him in his solar boat. It's become the underworld boatman, the boat of the boatman has ascended and now he's travelling in the solar boat. And this version of Ra in the solar boat carries the endless worm that does not die, the Ouroboros. And he's in the Wasir Karahan fetal burial position. As I said, guys, this is where we get this whole thing. The death and rebirth. In the car position, the turns to the bird, we have the feather of Mart. We even have Knum. So all the same stuff, guys. So we have Geb, Osiris, Anubis, Knum, and now Ra. And all five is one entity in different steps. Because the glyphs and reliefs in Egypt explain a story. They are not gods. Once we've buried the man, and his spirits ascended and traversed the underworld, once he's risen and he's Ra, and he's sat waiting in that phallic enclosure, symbolically, The next stage to make this host is the orgies, guys. The temple prostitutes and the highly fertile virgins. I said in the Karahan Tepe video, I got these two the wrong way around. This is obviously the uterus and ovaries, and this is the erect phallus, and these are the two coming together. So once this happens, as we've explained, the Ra, or Ray, who is Ra, comes down, and that is the meaning of the alignment witnessed by JJ. As the sperm enters the egg, which is now called an egg enclosure, so they officially call this the phallic enclosure, and this is the egg enclosure. It's the death and rebirth of a god by possession of host from birth, and the ray, Ra, this alignment symbolizes, as I've said, the zinc spark that we witness in a microscope when the sperm enters the egg, just like we see at Karahan. And we have the man between the two pillars, possessed in the eye, the pineal, which is what the Freemasons symbol means. And the Enlightenment part of it can be shown by what these guys do. This, of course, these rays, this Ra, comes from the Arten. Here we can see the Arten, the half, the wave, which is the water, the circumpunct, and the blade or feather of Mars. And in the Arten, sometimes is a man, a face, because he's Ra, who's traversed from the underworld, ascended. He's in the stars in his solar boat, and he's going to come through the real star gate as the Arten. Here we can see Akhenaten as the Sphinx offering to the Arten. This ray, this Arten, this beam coming down Jacob's ladder is the falling man. This is the squatter man. We can see him in glyphs, erect. We can see him all over, guys. We can find this guy in South America, and we can also find him in churches today. Here, look, he's a falling, upside down angel man with wings, with this rope, bound, falling. We find this all over. This is from the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico. I don't know if you can remember, guys, but this is from the Shumeo ruins we talked about in China. These megalithic blocks. Well, this has the falling man. Here's, of course, the Hangman Tarot card, and this is the symbology of the falling man of 9/11. Here's a drawing of a stela from South America, and this, guys, I'm not sure if, to be honest, guys, I'm not sure if this or this is in the Roslin Chapel, where the pillar is, guys, the Temple Church in Scotland. Either this one or this one. This fallen man is from Roslin. I'm not sure about this, guys. I thought it was Celtic or something. I can't remember. But, guys, this ray, this Ra, this Arten is the fallen man, the squatter man. The squatting man becomes the squatter man. This stela from El Baal, we can see them offering to the sun god who is falling down. And it looks like he has wings and snakes, the feathered serpent. This is what they saw, guys, because the alignment at Karahan is symbolic of the actual real world event, what happened. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the squatter man theory. But as I've said, Jesus replied, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. And that's what this is, guys. 100%. We find this upside down man on seals with the moon and star and the vase, the vessel. We see this, which I think's the Shangdui artifact, which, if you remember, was on top of the dog in the other seal. Here we have the guy with the turtle helmet, and they call this man literally Sin. And here he has his cup. Of course, all good births need a mother. And this, what we found at Göbekli Tepe, this is the mother. And I believe it's the earliest representation of the Ankh. And I've gone through all this before, guys, so I'm not really going to break this down. It's just a recap. The as above, so below, the square and compass. These two at Göbekli Tepe, and this third coming down. This is the three aspects. The circumpunct between the two pillars. Of course, this mother is Isis. Isis, the golden goose, not to be confused with all the other female gods or aspects. This is Isis, who is Eve. Eve, the mother of Cain, born with the seed, who was the Horus. We can tell he is Horus, Harpocrates, with the Horus lock. She has the V carrying the orb with the golden goose crown, just like we see from Göbekli Tepe. And here we can see the bird aspect and the serpents on top of the golden goose. So she is carrying the bird serpent, Horus, Harpocrates. This woman, Isis, is most certainly Eve. We see Harpocrates with his Horus lock, pointing, doing the shush gesture. The Horus lock, guys, this is very important. The Horus lock is the Gorgon, the worm that never dies. That's what the Gorgon is, but of Nephilim. It is the feather of Mart. Here we can see that Ra has the soul and the feather, guys. This is both aspects in one squatting host. The feather, guys, the feather. It's all interchangeable for the Legion. Now here we can see the feather and the Horus lock and the serpent on the crown of the north. It's all the middle aspects, or the three feathers, which makes up the fleur-de-lis, which is this symbol on the Garter star that we've already mentioned moments ago in part 1. It is, of course, the three feathers of the Prince of Wales. In the crown, I serve. It is the caduceus with the Asclepius inserted, the three parts. Now, I know I say not to look at the artist's drawings to try and find the artifacts themselves, but I found this really interesting, and I didn't notice it till the other day. We've all seen this kneeling man, this squatting man, and what looks like he's being beheaded, sacrificed by an entity behind him, and his blood's coming out in this space between these two pillars with animals on, which harkens to the decapitation ritual of the excited man at Göbekli Tepe. Now, if you look down here, guys, we see these two marks which look suspiciously like the feathers on the Artef crown, and this third aspect, which reminds me of the feather of Mart or the Horus lock. And if we look, this Neolithic cave art drawing of this feather lock type thing literally has a demonic face and horns. This is the spirit of Legion, the Asclepius. It's the middle feather in the three feathers of the Prince of Wales. It is the crown of Osiris, the fleur-de-lis, which means that Osiris, Geb, Hapi, Baphomet, Tlaloc, they all have this fleur-de-lis that we can see on the garter jewel. We can see it coming out of the floor here, out of the base pedestal. The two with the triple fleur-de-lis inside it, just like on Baphomet's horns and his fleur-de-lis. That's what Hapi has on his head, because when Geb is dead, at a certain period they referred to him as Hapi. And Tlaloc, if we look here, we can see these two coming out of the front, which is these two here, which is the horns of the Baphomet, and the three coming out, and the three is two and an insert. So this here, guys, is this thing off the garter jewel from the secret place of Osiris, off the head of Hapi. It's all the crown of Baphomet on the garter jewel. So once Horus is born, reborn in his host, Horus is the title, not the name. He is the bird, serpent, the feathered serpent, the winged disc. He is hand and rib, marked, and he is half of the worm that does not die, from the sacrificed man at Karahan Tepe, that travelled the halls of Amenti, that rose, he ascended to the heavens, came through the stargate, and down as the ray, as the zinc spark, into the new host, into the baby being born, in the egg enclosure, while they were doing the sex magic. That's how you make the triple X man, the hand and the rib, marked with the legion, the Gorgon, or in this case, the spirit of the son of perdition. And this happened, as we can just see here, in the pineal of Eve. Horus is a title, the bird serpent, and he is the hand and rib, marked. X marks the spot, possessed by the spirit of son of perdition. Hathor. See Horus in a few forms, guys. In Dendera, next to the bulb, we see the serpent in the boat, stood in front of the Horus bird. Horus is the serpent, contains the serpent, the title of the bird serpent. Harpocrates with the Horus lock. Here we can see Horus, he has the horns of Cnum, because it's all the same guy. In the pyramid of Djoser, as I've shown you, we see the relief of Horus lumped together, which close up here we can see is the hand and rib, a half and half, marked with the Gorgon Legion, spirit of the son of perdition, which is the Horus. That's what this says, guys. The Horus, we can see, has the Amun, Cnum, horns. The Baphomet. The Baphomet is the Horus, reborn. At the temple of Edfu, we can see the T-shaped pillar, the man, the temple, the Tau, the man with no head, and becomes a star. We can see the pineal. This man's beheaded and goes into the pineal of another. The hand and rib marked, the half and half, the Horus. The beheaded man becomes a star and possesses the pineal of the new vessel, whose half hand, half rib he's marked. And that's the meaning of Horus's solar boat. He moves on from there, from the underworld, from the heavens to the new temple, and then on again. He moves on. And that's more just what this stuff says, guys. The rib's smashed off at the top, but we have the rib, the hand and rib are marked 1. So this is saying this is the first one. So this this must mean Cain. Here underneath we can see the eye and the half, so half of him's man, half of him's in the pineal. We see the water and the horned viper, then we see the T-pillar temple and the star, because once the head's off the temple, the star is released. So guys, we have Geb, Nut, Osiris, Anubis, Khnum, Ra, the Aten, the Pharaoh reborn, who is the title Horus, whose symbol is the winged disc feathered serpent, the horned feathered serpent, who was born in the golden goose mother Isis. In this picture, guys, we only have 3 people: the sacrifice victim, the birth mother, and the man born with the spirit of the victim within, who is the Horus. So there's only 3 entities here, guys, in all of these. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? They are not gods. It is a story of a stage. Stages, sorry. Now, if we're talking about Horus, the equivalent in Palenque is Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl, here we can see, is the feathered serpent. We can see in these this collection of glyphs here, he is in the squatting position and becomes the Horus after being the wind. This is all the same stuff, guys. Horus is the Quetzalcoatl, the squatting man that became the Horus. We notice at the top of the Quetzalcoatl relief at Palenque, the fish, which is Vishnu, as we've covered. It is Dagon. We found this at Sangshandwe. In the Sangshandwe bronze artifacts, we found the fish god. We've all seen this, how they infiltrate and make the light dark and the dark light. We have the catfish going into the temple, which is the Serak or name of Nama. Here we can see Vishnu at the side of his kumb, and at the top of it is Hanuman in his Ouroboros. But in here, look, is the fish, and the fish is being shot in the eye. So it's all the same stuff. Also, at Chichen Itza, inside Castillo del Diablo, we see this, because the pyramid's being added to. We see these 2 animals, 2 jaguars, flanking this twin serpent rising from the lotus, which we've found at Catalhoyuk. We've seen it at Say Birch. The Hittites used this symbol, guys. And the Mycenae Gate has this symbol. It's all the same. We find this in Castillo del Diablo at Chichen Itza. I'm not sure which site this is at, guys. I'm sure this is more Chichen Itza. I believe this is the Palace of the Governors, wherever it's at. Outside the Palace of the Governors, in the middle of the yard, is the double animal headed throne chopping block, where I believe in the courtyard they did the beheading in front of the winged disc. Can you see this, guys? So now we're in South America and we're finding all the same stuff. The squatting man, Chakmul, the Chakmul squatting man. We can see the shadow. This is the light, guys, that makes the shadow that looks like the dog. Can you see that, guys? And behind him, we have the jaguar throne. Now remember when I said about the Yangtze Museum serpent that was based on the Karahantepe serpent, and I told you to remember these two tassels on his crown of the south, on his Khufu crown. Well, Chakmul has the exact same tassels, guys. And on his chest we see this bird, winged bird, the Horus symbol. Of course, I've shown you that the Chakmul used to be green, and he had this arrow, this up chevron, pointing to his right eye. Now this has been removed, but this, guys, it is Osiris, in front of his jaguar throne, which again we find representations of in China. We see Pakal taking the mask, sat on the twin-headed jaguar lion throne, exactly like the Vincha man sat on the double-headed throne, because it's the recycling of the spirit into a new host, and there are 7 kings. Now, I'd just like to talk about this red and black. There's a dish from South America, and it shows this tree, and at the foot of the tree there's this weird looking creature man who is half red and half black, just like the Insidious monster. And we can see he has a pine cone and a scorpion. I believe the scorpion is in the pine cone of this man. He is marked. Also, in the South American stuff, now I hope you can see, guys, how it comes down into the chalice. The fish comes down into the V, and the circumpunct. This is the dragon and the beast. The dragon gave the authority to the beast. Here they are. And we can count. We can count that this is 8. So this is the story. The 8. There are 8. The 8th is one of the 7, remember? This is number 1. And it's 5. So, guys, this ties in nicely to the avatars of Bud and the 7 ducks. It says 10 on here, but a couple of them are stages that are not. How do I explain this, guys? This is the horseman, and this Vishnu is when he's in spirit form. So these 2 straight away don't count. They're explanations of the same entity. We have the spirit of Vishnu in his 8 avatars, and the 8th is one of these 7. One of the 7 ducks. So, guys, that leads us on to Toph and the Red Woman. Well, I'm sure we all know who Toph is. He is the Lucifer figure. And the Red Woman is the triple goddess. We see her as Hathor, Mart, and Sekhmet. Now the story goes that, and this guys, I'm struggling with this. This is what I've uncovered, and this is what I've always believed. But I'm finding out that this might just be what I'm learning, the Babylonian mystery religion. It is said that this is Adam's first wife. We'll talk about that in a moment, because this is a grey area. But whoever this entity is, she committed suicide after passing her child through the fire and became Mart. This is why we have the feather, because she is the mother of all demons, the mother of the first men, the human men. Hathor, the Hawthorne, and Mart. And she is the Red Woman Mystery Babylon, Sekhmet, who will return in the end. The whore of Babylon, the triple goddess, Mart, Hathor, Sekhmet. And here she is with Thoth Lucifer. We can see clearly that the red woman leads the white woman astray. This is Hathor and Isis, who I believe is Lily and Eve, and Lily giving Eve the apple containing the seed. The triple goddess is the triple goddess from Macbeth. The crow, the maid, the mother and the crone, isn't it? In Snow White, she's the witch, but she's also the queen who has the magic mirror, and she gives Snow White the apple, because this is Lilith and Eve. She's the red woman of Game of Thrones, who has a crone form when she removes her necklace. She is the serpent in the tree that beguiled Eve to partake of the fruit of the tree. And we can find this in reliefs throughout Egypt, because most of this, guys, is Genesis, and them pharaohs were barking up the wrong tree, and most of them didn't know what they were even looking at. They found antediluvian ruins and became what they say is Egyptian religion today. But this, as we can clearly see, is the red woman in the tree offering what I believe is Adam and Eve the forbidden fruit, and they're being channeled in their pineals. Here we can see the son of perdition in the tree, the spirit. This is the fruit, the spirit, the seed of Baal. Here we can see Sekhmet, the red woman Lilith. Ptah, she passed her child through the fire, and he became the spirit of the tree of knowledge. And here we have Lucifer controlling all of this in Thoth form. We can see her in the tree, feeding the legion to the white woman, to Isis. We can see the serpent and the tree. And at the bottom, guys, we see this face in the tree, which some people say is just glyphs. This, guys, is a face. We can see the vampire fangs, the winking eye, and the other eye has the arrow, just like on the Chak Mole. Now in the Popol Vuh, we find this Ouroboros, just like the Hashtepsut Ouroboros, the serpent, but we see this tree with the face and the scorpion, because the Legion, the Gorgons, the Feather of Mart, they are the scorpions. And the Scorpion King is the son of perdition, who is in the bottomless pit, the Asclepius, the fruit of the tree, who is to be inserted into the genetic match hand and rib. It's the same thing in Egypt as it is in the Popol Vuh. And it's certainly a face, and the Freemasons have done this since the beginning of time. And here we can see, just in this one glyph, the eyes, the clown red nose, and the wonky smile, the clown face, okay? This is nut. This, in this tree, is how you write nut. She is marked Hathor. Here we can see Hathor with the Hathor hair. Clearly this is Hathor with the name Nut above her. We've seen this, the Geber Nut. Here she is with the smiley face, but it's not smiling, guys. This, guys, is a winking vampire face, not no smiley face. And they find this inside lots of coffins, sarcophagus paintings, and tomb reliefs. She is certainly the red woman, the triple goddess, Lilith, Hathor, Mart, Sekhmet, the serpent in the tree that beguiled Eve, and then Eve took Adam to be beguiled too. That's what it is, guys. And that's what we see at Dendera. All this stuff is all the same. The death and rebirth of a god is buried, is decapitated, is buried, it traverses the underworld, it ascends, it comes through the Stargate, it comes down as a ray onto the face of the serpent, the spirit, the worm that never dies of the buried man, into the semen phallic enclosure that enters the egg at the moment of conception and births the man with the gorgon. Do you see it, guys? In this New Age stuff, the serpent and the tree and the upside down falling man, Incy Wincy Spider, Little Miss Muffet, Sound her Tuffet. This is what this stuff all is, guys. And this upside down falling man, the low hanging fruit, he is the Arton. And that's what Dendera, all this stuff, look, guys, in Dendera. The calendar at Dendera is just like the claims about the Tepe being a calendar. The calendar is important, but it'll align with the stars, guys, because the Creator set the stars in their place, and they are for signs and for seasons. And the stars weren't copied from the Tepes or from the Dendera calendar. The calendar and the Tepes and all this dating solar observation stuff is observation of the stars that were set in place by the Creator. And this down here, guys, this is very, very interesting. We see this woman with her arms raised in the car position, and she has an exposed boob, so she is titty, so she is marked Hathor Sekhmet. This is the triple red woman. She is the mother of the spirit of the 7 stars. The 7 stars, the 7 spirits that enter the 7 avatars born in the white woman. The red woman is the mother of the spirit that possesses the child of the white woman, Lilith and Isis, Eve. The bird serpent at Dendera. Now this, guys, I'm going to go out on a limb here, guys. What they say is that this is a vessel pouring or receiving something from these systems. But what I believe these are, guys, right? These are the temples, but they are columns, they are pillars. And we know that the middle pillar is a man who is a temple with the seed of Hathor within his head. So to pour out the seed into the temple in your head. So these, guys, I believe, are the first 4 feathered serpent Horus anti-Messiah hosts. The first 4 kings. Now these 2 on this side are just stood on this, what I don't know what this is, but these 2, they say they're in a boat, and this orb has a glyph of water. So these two are before this boat water event, and these 2 temples that are taking these spirits from the poured out vessels, the middle pillars, these 2 are after this boat and water event. So I put it to you guys that Cain was the first Horus. Olamek killed Cain. Cain's possessing spirit was released, and it was reborn in Lamech's son, Tubal-Cain. This is Cain and Tubal-Cain. then the flood. And after the flood, I believe that Nimrod was the third king, and Tut was the fourth feathered serpent. Okay, guys? These are the fourth avatar, and that's when Dendera, well, that's when, in the time period where this was done, guys. And I've shown you before that the Dendera bulb is no bulb. It is the whole thing. So here we have the man with the orb in the car position. He is about to be sacrificed, just like we saw the baboon in the pencil drawing a moment ago, who is Toph. He is about to sacrifice the man. And from this man comes the energy in this boat. We see the squatting person, then we see the people coming together, then we see the serpent kundalini energy, the worm that does not die, entering the Jed pillar. This is three-dimensional, so it's in a loop, in a three-dimensional loop. The victim, the squatting person, the two people coming together, the rebirth from the lotus in the Horus, who is the Jed pillar, possessed by the worm that does not die. And here this is supposed to say, I killed your enemies with knives. My name is greater than Weh. Now that, to me, guys, that's close to a major claim and blasphemy. I'm not even going to get into that, guys, about what this entity is claiming his name is better than. I killed your enemies with knives at the place of the sacrifice. And this place of the sacrifice is the two hills with the orb and a knife coming above it. So this symbol is what most certainly a chopping block, 100%. And it is the car position. Is about to be beheaded to release his spirit, this orb, which will traverse the underworld, hence the squatting position, and through the coming together, be reborn into the new host, carrying the worm that does not die. And that's what we find at Chichen Itza. This guy with his knife beheading this guy, and these serpents legion coming out, but one's a bird. It's the bird serpent that's being beheaded. This is Lamech. Sorry guys. This is Lucifer Toph guiding Lamech, who's over here on the left, to kill Cain. Here we see his head in his hand and all his tendons and stuff coming down. We can see that they have the katanas, the samurai swords that we see in Highlander, and this, which is very interesting because now we've seen the worm that does not die represented in an orb and as skulls with fiery tails and blowing out the wind. That's what this is, guys. It's Karahan Tepe. It's the burial, the death, the rebirth of a god. The beheading between the two pillars, like we see in the Altamara caves, as it shows us on pillar 43 what the Osiris glyph, the spell for Osiris, tells us, and what Toph himself is about to do in Dendera. It's all the Tepes. It all stems from the Tepes. Now this, guys, here we see Tutankhamun on the double-headed lion throne as the Horus in the squatting position, which doubles as a chopping block, and we can see his arms coming down, and he's in the serpent Ouroboros, and he has the Horus lock, and it's in the eye. So what I'm saying, guys, is that this is saying that just again the same stuff. They behead the king, and over here we see this man worshipping or praying or becoming a star and the half. So this man becomes a star. That makes one half. The full orb and the number one and the triple aspect, the crescent, the artes with the insert, the caduceus and the asclepius, which is the phoenix. We can see this here, which is like on a clearer picture, it's two-dimensional. The star is between the two pillars. We see the squatting man, Osiris, the man from Karahan, and we see Nut down at the bottom. This is the whole thing. This is the death of the god being reborn in King Tut as the Horus. So while I was looking at these faces, guys, this Nut, I came across this book, this Freemasonry visual arts book, and I briefly mentioned about how we can make faces, or they made faces and hid them within the images, and some of them do certainly look like clowns. Now, while I was Googling what I believe Nut symbol is, a one-eyed vampire, the one-eyed vampire search result came up with this art from this artist. I forgot his name. He's a real guy, it's not AI. But we see the one-eyed Nosferatu, and we see this peculiar looking man with the shadow man behind him on his shoulder, as we've covered. This symbolises possession. And we see these clown like vampire, weird looking, dodgy handed, just weird, guys, just weird. Now, understanding conspiracy, his channel has been covering the Nephilim look like clowns, and I noticed the other day it was on about this Gorgon on Athena. Before we get into that, I'd just like to stick in Egypt, and in a couple of tombs. I've found loads more, guys, but I'll just show you a couple. I wonder if he sees this. I hope he does. See this clown with the big nose, white face, big smile, eyes, the spindy spot? Do you see it, guys? And then over here, look, these triangles with these men. These are clowns, guys. Do you see the clowns? The smile? Do you see it, guys? And you remember one of my videos out there saying that all of this is the mystery religion, and it's in Highlander, and it shows you exactly the worm that does not die possessing the man. The spirit comes from the guy that's just previously been decapitated. Well, when the cut happens, the light shines out. This is the frill that Paul at Understanding Conspiracy is talking about, guys. Here's the frill. And the Gorgon is this thing here in Dendera, which is being reborn from the mother, out of the sun's rays, from the Arton. It is all the same stuff, guys, I'm afraid. Which brings me back to my book and my little family tree down here. And it's all checking out, guys, apart from this. Was she the wife of Adam? Was she channeling Lucifer herself? This is what I'm stuck on, guys. Was she his wife, or is that Babylon mystery religion? Or is it both? Was she his wife who went off channeling Lucifer and doing stuff to her son, and that's why Adam needed a new wife to be a helpmeet? She's Hathor, she's Mart, she is the Durga, she is the Serpent of Eden, she is the mother of the 7 stars, she is Athena, who carries the Gorgon. Now, I didn't really get into reading hieroglyphs, but checking some of them out opened my eyes. Here we have the name Hathor. Now, for all the things we know about Hathor, I don't see how any of these symbols are related. What I do know is that this squatting position, as we see with Osiris, and the fetal burial position at Karahan, this symbolises a death, a dead body. And this is a blade cutting an arm. And I believe that Hathor slit her wrists and she became a spirit because she was the first man. That's why there's clean and unclean spirits to test the spirits. If all the spirits were Nephilim from Legion, there'd be no testing because there'd be no good spirits. There'd be no clean spirits. She was of the first men, the wife of Adam, I believe. And she committed suicide. She slit her wrists, and this is why they wear the red Kabbalah bracelet for the slit wrist. And she became Mart, the spirit. That's why Hathor has the feather of Mart literally in her name. And Mart shows this arm, but now carrying the flail with this half and half orb. And this, I think, means recycle, guys. I'm not really sure. But here she is, still sat in this dead position, carrying her feather now. And then we have Sekhmet. Sekhmet is the same figure, the female squatting figure. And now this striped orb. This orb, sorry, is striped. It's black and red when we see it coloured. She has the half, but she has this sistrum. Because the sistrum, guys, I believe is just a representation of the middle pillar with a face and a temple in his head where the rattlesnake lives. It's the body, possessed body. Sistrum is just the middle pillar, guys. It's the host, possessed. And Sekhmet is the Durga who will return in the end, who is the whore of Babylon in Revelation. Here we have Osiris, and this is how we say, this is how we write Isis, because Isis is the woman who has the egg for the feather to be deposited in. And the egg carries the serpent from the tree, from the forbidden fruit. This is a way of saying Horus, the bird serpent, the dead dog Anubis, and this recycling glyph, which we see here in Mark. And down here, I can't remember which guy this represents, but it's got the eye of the pineal gland, it's got the arm that's cut, it's got the circumpunct and the squatting man. So basically, guys, I believe that this is Baal. This is the son of perdition. So we have the red woman, we have Isis, Osiris, Isis, we have Baal, and we have Horus, which all together produces the Aten. And this is the glyphs, the name for Aten. This is what all this Gorgon Greek stuff is. Athena is the mother of the Gorgons. The Gorgons are the Baphomet, the serpents, the snakes that need to be born in a man, who will come back. Sorry, the Poseidon image here, slaying. Sorry guys, I'm getting overwhelmed. I think I'm just going to leave it here for now, guys.